Now, let us, because I want to address something. I want to address something. Because we have seen people pushing, and I'm wondering how many times I have to speak on this topic as it relates to FINSAC. That the Jamaica Labour Party somehow want to take the burden of FINSAC and put it on the People's National Party. But how ludicrous it is that the Jamaica Labour Party claim that, okay, they are going to investigate the FINSAC. They budgeted money to investigate the FINSAC. And when they investigated the FINSAC, and the investigators completed the report, the result of the FINSAC investigation, the GLP doesn't want to release it. So then let me ask for persons who are talking about FINSAC, why you don't ask your government to release the report if you believe that the People's National Party, right, calls FINSAC, right, and the Jamaica Labour Party, they had done the report, they had done the investigation, completed the investigation. Why not tell them, right? Because Nigel Clarke run away, left that to you. Nigel Clarke is leaving that to you. And the FINSAC report, right, had completed and they sit on it. But ask yourself why? Why they sit on it? Because they don't like the findings as it relates to what the investigator found. So then, since I have it as it relates to WikiLeaks investigation. But first, let us show you how they continue to spread their propaganda. Now, let us go to financial crisis. Let us show you how they continue to spread their propaganda.
The financial shock, which began in 1991 in Jamaica, ballooned unchecked over the next 5 years until it exploded with a catastrophic bang in 1996. The explosion left shrapnel scattered over the financial landscape, which still impacted on the economy so many years later. Our Sister Valerie Dixon is a survivor of that shock that the Observer talk about, a survivor of the government's response to the financial crisis of the 1990s. And she has, as we have said, written her book, Too Black to Succeed, the FINSAC Experience, one of the 4 nines, later president of the UNIA Kingston chapter, educator, author, entrepreneur, and grandmother. My sister Valerie Dixon,
So what I want to bring out this morning is that a lot of people do not understand where this thing came from. And I want to just read a little from an appendix that was written in the Observer some time ago. It says, when Omar Davis, then PNP finance minister in the 1990s, began the process of dismantling the Central National Bank, it was done immediately after the Don Crawford-run entity had bought a significant sum of US dollars at a few dollars more than the price that the official exchange rate indicated. The bank did nothing which other banks were not doing in a time when an inept PNP government was struggling with managing a market economy which it knew little or nothing about. What the sale of those dollars did was reveal that the very same finance ministry was covertly, that means underground, dispatching agents with huge sacks of cash in the trunks of their cars to buy US dollars at prices above the official exchange rate. The money was stolen eventually. With blood rushing to its head, when this action was revealed, an embarrassed PNP government set about withdrawing public funds from the Central National Bank, making it publicly known. And in the process, it started or triggered a run on the bank, which was seemingly designed to end its life. That, however, is a sad history for the most progressive bank existing in Jamaica at that time. So if you withdraw money from the most progressive bank at the time, what do you think is bound to happen? It is going to trigger what is known.
Okay. So my Jamaican people, right? When we listen, right, to these people who obviously totally oblivious, right, of the truth, and they continue, right, with the mayhem of lies and deceit, disinformation and misinformation, right? And this is where it is critical for people who want to know the truth. And all of that is lie. So if, in terms of what she said, that it is the People's National Party, right, who had created the mayhem and the catastrophe. And of course, now you have the Jamaica Labour Party who had investigated it, right? And the result came out to the Jamaica Labour Party and they refused to release it. So my lady, let me show you the truth of the FINSAC, because I know, right, that you have spoken nothing about Edward Seaga. Because maybe you want to say Edward Seaga was a PNP, right? The last time I know that Edward Seaga, right, is a JLP, right? But maybe you want to tell that lie too, that Edward Seaga is a PNP. Anyway, let us get into the truth, right? Let us get into the WikiLeaks cable, right? And to show it, because you keep on spreading it. And each time you keep on spreading it, we are here to wash out the lie. Now, here it is, people, WikiLeaks, right? Date 2005, October 28. Right, let us get into it. Jamaican banker. Summary, let us get into the summary one. Dan Crawford, former head of the failed Central National Bank, has lost his appeal to the Privy Council following a 1999 conviction in civil court for financial fraud. Let me ask this lady, who you think brought Dan Crawford to court? It is the People's National Party take him to court, right? It is the People's National Party took Dan Crawford to court. So I want you to get that information straight into your head. Let us read on. And has been instructed to repay about US dollars 45 million to the government of Jamaica, which was the People's National Party. People's National Party brought him to court. So stand up and get the truth. Although the Director of Public Prosecution has made a ruling on whether criminal charges will be filed, that ruling has not yet been made public. Crawford, who resides in the US, was once the darling of the Jamaican banking sector. He was often lauded by the government of Jamaica officials for his foray into non-banking areas at a time when investors were shunning the productive sector to benefit from the high interest rate regime. However, Crawford Bank, which made a number of loans to connected parties, right? Number of loans. So get that in your head. That is what Dan Crawford had done, right? Issuing unsecured loans to his friends, which made a number of loans to connected parties, was soon to face a liquidity and solvency crisis and had to seek assistance from the state. So you hear that? Has to seek assistance from the government. recognizing the extent of the deficit. And before I go any further, remember that Dan Crawford was a JLP. He has nothing to do with the PNP. Dan Crawford is a JLP supporter. The authorities took control of the bank and eventually charged Crawford for financial fraud. It is widely believed that his close affiliation with the opposition Jamaica Labour Party. You hear that, miss? Did you hear that? Let me read it over again for you to hear. It is widely believed that his close affiliation with the opposition Jamaica Labour Party did not help his cause, as no other bank has been charged. Crawford lawyers are in the process of discussing payment, which, if made, would provide a much-needed windfall to the cash-strapped government of Jamaica. Right? End of summary number 1. Let us move to 2. The UK-based Privy Council on October 10 ruled that Dan Crawford and former top executive of the failed Century National Bank, right, must pay the government of Jamaica an estimated $45 million in principal and interest for unsecured loans made ahead of the bank collapse in 1996. The Privy Council is expected to announce the final amount payable to the state when it hands down its written judgment later this month. The Privy Council's ruling arose from the appeal of a March 1999 decision by Jamaica's Chief Justice Leslie Wolf, in which he berated the actions of Crawford and another top executive, Capel Williams, who he described as rogue bankers. They were busy helping themselves to the bank funds, Wolf said in his judgment at the time. These payments constitute a misapplication of the bank funds. However, Crawford, who reportedly resides in Atlanta, was once regarded as a model banker, and government of Jamaica functionaries viewed his bank as a blueprint. Crawford was often lauded by the government of Jamaica officials for venturing into non-banking areas such as real estate at a time when investors were shunning productive investment to benefit from the government of Jamaica high interest rate policy. Ironically, it was Crawford's foray into non-core activities which was partly responsible for the bank's demise, as a number of unsecured loans were made to connected parties to finance these investments. In particular, the bank made loans to companies owned by Crawford. People listen. Crawford, his mother, and former opposition leader and Prime Minister Edward Seaga. The last time he checked, the last time I checked, people, Edward Seaga has nothing to do with the PNP. Let me read it over for her. In particular, this is what caused the collapse. The bank made loans to companies by Crawford, his mother, and former opposition leader and Prime Minister Edward Seaga. They are all Jamaica Labour Party, right? People. Nothing to do with the People's National Party. One such loan was made to an affiliated company to construct over 700-room Renaissance hotel. The unsecured loans to connected parties took a toll on the liquidity and solvency of the bank when they could not be financed. Take that away. So now, when you are here spreading propaganda, the Prime Minister mentioned of stellar performance is not for the poor, but is rich cronies. Exactly, Pastor Ricky. So when you are here spreading your rumor, right, that PNP calls FINSAC, right? Now you understand who calls FINSAC, and now you understand why Nigel Clarke sits on that report. Doesn't want to reveal the report. So if the Jamaica Labour Party have the got you moment, right, and where now the FINSAC report has finished, has completed, why not reveal it, right? But it goes to the level of corruption, and now we are going to get into deeper corruption where anti-oneness is concerned, and where it is a usual thing for the Jamaica Labour Party, right? Not now. That's what they used to. That's their MO, right? Robbing the treasury, right? Doing all sorts of things to poor people, suppressing them, right? Jamaica Labour Party, the capitalist party, known for that. What they do, right? Now, let us get into some serious corruption and show Jamaican people, because we have to educate our people that this coming general election, what I am telling you now and showing you, right, must build on the premises for you to make your informed decision. Before I get into these areas of truth that I'm going to get into, we all know very well how Michael Manley felt proud in terms of creating NHT, the National Housing Trust. You understand, for poor people. But as time progressed, particularly under the administration of the Jamaica Labour Party, you are going to see what the NHT has now come to. That poor people cannot afford, right? Cannot afford to process a loan from NHT without partnering, right, with other family members. Some 2 or some 3 of them have to be partnering, because it's out of the reach of the poor people. But I want to tell you a little history about NHT. Here it is, people. Battle over NHT funds begin. Court case commences over PNP decision to extract $46 billion. And let me explain it before I go and get into it. Now, you remember that Bruce Golding had damaged the economy. And the IMF, right, decided that they are not going to deal with him. And because of Jamaica flatline, economy was flatlined, Portia Simpson took over the government 2012. And as a result of the economy and the state of the economy, Portia Simpson has to go on her knees to beg the IMF for some funding. Portia Simpson has to decide to take on those austerity measures that we are talking about. And those austerity measures were very much brutal with the PNP, under the PNP government, where Portia Simpson concerned, and Peter Phillips, where the IMF expected for them to fail. But Portia Simpson, right, hung high in terms of utilizing the austerity measure to shape Jamaica, right, economy back into progress. And so then what Portia Simpson had to do, because they need to have certain amount of money in the reserve before IMF could process the loan. So this year, what you see here, battle over NHT funds begin, court case commence over PNP decision. It is the JLP took PNP to court because the PNP put $46 billion in the treasury, right? In the surplus. There. Now, so let us look. The Supreme Court is today expected to begin hearing a legal challenge to the decision of the Portia Simpson Miller administration 4 years ago to tap into the coffers of the National Housing Trust, NHT, for $45.6 billion in budgetary support. Yes, to support the budget, right? So Portia Simpson has to take $46 billion, right, to put into the budget before we can get the loan. Through an amendment to the NHT Act 3 years ago, the previous government got the green light to withdraw $11.4 billion from the trust annually, starting in 2013 and ending this financial year. However, self-employed St. James businessman Fitzroy Fagan, through his attorney, has asked the court to declare the National Housing Trust Amendment Special Provision Act 2013 void. Fagan, who claims in court documents that he has contributed to the NHT for 22 years without receiving a benefit, also wants the court to find that the multi-billion-dollar withdrawal constitutes a deprivation of his property that is in breach of the Constitution. In court, the second defendant, NHT, is holding the contribution of the claimant and other contributors and trusts. Those contributions represent the private property of the contributors. It is a breach of the trust for the board of directors of the second defendant to hand over the funds and trust to the third defendant, the Minister of Finance. Fagan claimed in court documents obtained by the Gleaner. A picture for Fagan, one attorney at law told the Gleaner yesterday, could mean that the government would have to reimburse the NHT the $45.6 billion. They would have to pay back the money the attorney suggested. Simpson Miller and Dr. Peter Phillips, the then finance minister, used a national broadcast in February 2013 to announce the government decision to tap into the NHT coffers for budgetary support. Budgetary support in the people wants to listen. The government, in taking the matter to Parliament for approval, said the drawdown on the NHT funds was necessary in order to allow the country to meet certain fiscal targets under the 4-year extended fund facility with the International Monetary Fund. The announcement drew public outcry from a wider cross-section of the society, including the opposition Jamaica Labour Party. Now, here to the people, including the then opposition Jamaica Labour Party, led by the current Prime Minister Andrew Holness. People want to take care of this paragraph, you know, because where I am going to it, I am going to show the cruelty of Andrew Holness. Now, when Andrew Holness was not in power, this is what Andrew Holness done, people. Let us read the paragraph. The announcement drew public outcry from a wide cross-section of the society, including the then opposition Jamaica Labour Party, led by the current Prime Minister Andrew Holness, which described the government action as a raid of the NHT funds. Let us quote him. We believe that the matters as fundamental as these, that is the property rights of Jamaicans, the status of the NHT, and the scope of the property rights under the Constitution, deserve ventilation before the court. Only said after the amendment to the NHT Act was passed in Parliament. Take it away. Take it away. Let me get to the Jamaican people now. I want you to remember everything that you have heard, what Andrew Holness said going against Portia Simpson, using the NHT funds for budgetary backup. Now, look what Andrew Holness do now. Remember, you know, it is Andrew Holness, opposition leader. You understand? Andrew Holness. You understand that it out and Portia Simpson. Now, let us look now. Let us look now at the entire Jamaica, locally. You understand? And in the diaspora, look on what Andrew Holness is going to do right now. People who come look. Look here. So Andrew Holness now they deal with NHT. Remember, you know, people, him defend NHT. Now, look. Opposition wants answer about NHT deal with Dexim. No, it is the PNP who now want answer as it relates to NHT deal with Dexim. Make we look now, people. Remember, say Portia, right? Getting the IMF loan right? And as a result of that, has to take the money from out of NHT to put into the budget so that we can get the loan. This is what Portia Simpson done, you know. You understand? So that Jamaica can be assisted by the funds. Look what Andrew Holness now do. Now we can go right now, people. The opposition People's National Party, PNP, is refusing to let up as it continues to press for answers in the relation to what it calls a sweetheart deal between the National Housing Trust and developer Dexim Holdings Limited. And people, let me tell you now, Dexim is known, right, as a fraudist. Andrew Holness was warned in Parliament about Dexim, not to involve with Dexim. So let me put that out of the way, right? Now, while calling for the resignation of the Trust Managing Director, Martin Miller, this concerned a 2-year guaranteed purchase agreement the NHT signed with Dexim Holdings in 2019 for the developer to provide 200 houses to its out of the blue development in Discovery Bay St. Anne at a cost of $2.5 billion, with the trust committing to buy the houses at a cost of $12.5 million per unit. In September 2022, the NHC sued Dexim Holdings for failing to deliver the houses despite advancing the company's $650 million and alleged that the developer was selling units assigned to it. The matter was heard in court on January 9, where the parties agreed to end the contract and came to a settlement, which included the signing of a non-disclosure agreement, which prevents the NHT and the contractor from commenting on the terms and conditions. Remember, you know, Andrew Holness and Nigel Clarke, right, has to be aware of this. And where Nigel Clarke sign off on this, you know, people. Nigel Clarke sign off on this. Now, at a press conference at the West Kingston House Road office of the opposition leader in St. Andrew on Wednesday, spokesperson on housing and sustainable living, Senator Floyd Morris, proposed that Dexim thing that I show is just the scorch of the fire or Andrew Holness damage NHT, right? As it relates to Nigel Clarke sign off to give Andrew Holness friend. You understand all that money. You understand to build houses and no house no build. But Andrew Holness and Nigel Clarke did worse than the Dexim. Did worse. That's why I just play the Dexim as a precursor. The Dexim as a precursor. Let me tell you what Nigel Clarke and Andrew Holness did with NHT money. Come, people, follow me. Now, let us get to this. Let us show the world. Remember, it is Andrew Holness who took Portia Simpson to court because Portia Simpson took the NHT money, you understand, and put it into a budget that is going to benefit every Jamaican people. Him never take it and give it to any fraudists. Never take it and give it to any fraudists. And never take it and give it to any criminal. People no watch her. Look at what you bang around. NHF, NHT, among public bodies with funds invested in scandal SSL. Right? Invested in scandal SSL. Let me show you it. Several public bodies have significant sums invested at the fraud stocks and security limited. Finance Minister Dr. Nigel Clarke has revealed. Clarke made the revelation Monday during a press conference to address the unfolding fraud at the investment firm, which has affected dozens of investors, including national icon Usain Bolt, who don't have no respect for the man, whose account has reportedly been fleeced 12.75 million or approximately $2 billion Jamaican dollars. The massive multi-billion fraud is the biggest in the last 2 decades and perhaps the largest in Jamaica history. Clarke, in response to questions from reporters, shared that, when you come look now, what Nigel Clarke and Andrew Holness do with the NHT money, shared that the National Health Fund, on the look paper, has a balance of approximately 740 million backside. The National Housing Trust has a balance of 238 million. Look what Andrew Holness are doing with taxpayers' money. The National Insurance Fund has a balance of 8.4 million. The Jamaica Agricultural Society has a balance of just 9 million. And the Jamaica Banana Industry Catastrophe Fund has a balance of 98,285. This is the information that has been provided to me by the temporary manager of SSL, Clarke said. Provided to you, Nigel Clarke, when you have to sign off. You have to sign off on this. You understand? You have to be aware of this, but this provided to you. SSL is the second oldest brokerage firm in Jamaica with more than 9,000 accounts, some 6,000 of which are said to be active. All of this information, I have big line of people. Big dirty lie. Let us take that away. So then, right, let us talk to our people. Bruce Golden, let us give a summary of what transpired right in those few clips that we showed, that we displayed. And let us now give a full detail of the summary. So then Bruce Golden went into power, right? And between the period 2009 to 2011, Bruce Golden crashed the economy, right? With, PJ Patterson paid off the IMF clean. Bruce Golden went into power, right, between 2007 to 2011. And within that short space of time, Bruce Golden divested most of Jamaican assets, right? Borrow loans from the IMF, and of course, put us back in debt. And not only that, he borrowed the loan, but he failed on the austerity measures that placed out for him. So then IMF turned its back, right, on Bruce Golden government. And so then it has an effect, right, on Portia Simpson government when Portia Simpson went in 2012. The economy was going into the abyss. How can it be saved? Portia Simpson decided that they have to go back to the International Monetary Fund. And we know the history with the International Monetary Fund, right? It is not like they're willing to help any black nation as it relates to developing their nation. It is always giving you loan as it relates to debt trapment. So people need to understand that. Now watch this. The IMF set serious austerity measures for Portia Simpson. At one point, IMF did not want to give Portia Simpson the loan. Portia Simpson have to go and talk to Maxine, what's her name? Maxine Walters, right? The United States Senate. Portia Simpson has to go and talk to Maxine Walters. And Maxine Walters, you know, with her connection, did what she had to do, right, in order to have Portia have a sit down with the IMF. Portia had to sit down with the IMF, and the IMF, right, set the austerity measures and so forth. And so then it was one of the strategies that Portia Simpson has to use, right, to take money from out of the NHT right, to put into the budget in order that we can get the loans from the IMF. The austerity measures that set as it relates to Portia Simpson government, Portia Simpson had defied the odds because they did not expect that Portia Simpson would have succeeded. And so then 8 consecutive IMF tests, Portia Simpson, with Peter Phillips, with Mark Golding writing the legislations, right, had succeeded. It was like a miracle. So when you hear Nigel Clarke and Andrew Holness telling people, oh, 50 years and never before as great, they are following the policies as it relates to the committee that Portia Simpson had set up and the agreement that they have to follow after. But the point of contention that I want to get to show you how vicious Andrew Holness is and how wicked and how heartless Andrew Holness is. Andrew Holness knew very well that Bruce Golding had damaged the economy. I knew very well that the move that Portia Simpson had made, you understand, was to use the NHT money, right, to put into the budget. Andrew Holness made that as a campaign slogan to run against Portia Simpson. This is how wicked and vicious this man is. Andrew Holness used it as a campaign, right, message to run against Portia Simpson and beat down Portia Simpson in the ground. Now let us bring forward, right, to Andrew Holness administration, knowing to the very fact that it is the same Andrew Holness, right, during the Portia Simpson-led government, right, is leading an action against the People's National Party to take the money from out of the NHT and put it into the budget. It was placed into the budget. It wasn't placed with any criminal friend or any friend with criminal mind or anyone who had committed themselves fraudulently. Let me get into that. But Nigel Clarke and Andrew, right, have been aware of what transpired with NHT, giving the money to Dexim, giving, right, those persons, right, who contributing to the NHT, taking contributor funds. This was what Andrew Holness eating out on Portia Farm. But look how Andrew Holness had done worse, more serious. This is criminal. Andrew Holness and Nigel Clarke, because they are aware of it. They were cognizant of it, right, as it relates to the money from NHT, put billions of dollars into Dexim hand, right? And Dexim did not deliver one house. And the money was given back to NHT without no interest. So then Dexim get the money, you understand, and could take the money, might be put it somewhere and work the money and use interest and benefit from the interest, and then take back the NHT dead bail money and give it back to NHT. This is what Andrew Holness allow his friend to do with contributor money. So if people don't understand what I'm speaking about, I am breaking it down for you in bits and pieces. But Andrew Holness' crime went further than that. Andrew Holness' crime went further than that. How far did it reach? It reached the ultimate wickedness. What I've just read out to you is that Andrew Holness and Nigel Clarke being cognizant, right, and allowed NHT money and all taxpayers' money to go into SSL, which Andrew Holness and Nigel Clarke know that SSL is a Ponzi scheme. Not only that they know that SSL was a Ponzi scheme, they know that SSL has affected maximum damage. In the 1995, Paul Chen Young, SSL, right? SSL bear the name Paul Chen Young and Associate, used in 1995 to cheat investors out of their money. To cheat investors out of their money. Right? And then look on the clique of men. Look at the clique of men. The Andrew Holness, the Hugh Craskerry, the Nigel Clarke. He must know there are so many reasons as to why he jumped ship. So many reasons as to why he jumped ship. Right? Because things are coming down into the pipeline. Here is Nigel Clarke speaking about that SSL, he was going to investigate SSL, and he will be leaving no stones unturned. Yes, Nigel Clarke, you did say that. You're not going to leave any stone unturned. The first lie that you told was to the fact that FBI, as according to you, that FBI was investigating. Bitter lies to the people of Jamaica. Bitter lies. The amount of damage that you have caused the Jamaican people, right, as it relates to SSL, a laundering machine for the Jamaica Labour Party. Yes. I want to know how much SSL fund Andrew Holness administration for the 2020 general election and the 2016 general election. How much did SSL fund the Jamaica Labour Party? These are the questions that we need to ask.